my gosh.
Get your dance on, Eva. We have a new setup.
Now everybody can see what we've been working on.
Oh, this is awesome. Yay! Hello, everybody. Well, hello, everybody. We have upped our game a little bit. Back by popular demand. We told you we're going to change up our setting a little bit. So here we are. We went ahead and made the changes. How do you like this new thing, Eva?
I'm obsessed. We're really podcaster, live streamers now. We got the backdrop in, sign, and everything.
It's so nice. I can't believe that we're able to finally put it together. It's been definitely a work for a bit. But, you know, you have a vision and you make it happen. So I'm really happy. So today, with a better sound, better picture quality, we are going to share with you guys what we love talking about, which is, first of all, the name of our podcast is the Realty Podcast. I'm Alemi, and here my colleague is
Eva Pomedli.
And we are coming to you live from Ottawa. Today we are going to share with you guys what we talked about last week with our jiggly table, which is how to buy a house in Ottawa, step-by-step guide. Okay. But before that, we have some really, really interesting announcements, right?
Yes, so the Bank of Canada has dropped the interest rate again by 50 basis points. And if you want to just know what that is in regular terms, it's by 0.5%.
Woo! Well done, Bank of Canada. My gosh, we still have ways to go. We talk to so many different people all the time, and you know, this is definitely a step in the right direction. A lot of buyers want to get into the marketplace and figure out what it is that they can get their hands on. Of course, the interest rates climbing in the past year or so. Couple of years, it's been very, very difficult. So this is great news for those buyers. And at the same time, I'd say it's great for sellers because sellers can finally get on with their lives and move into the next home. So
yeah, I think every buyer is sitting here thinking, does this make it easier for me? Does it make it harder for me?
Yeah, absolutely. So before anything else, we'd like to ask you to subscribe to our channel for more real estate news, tips, tricks, and behind the scenes.
Yeah, maybe
a lot of behind the scenes.
Maybe we'll catch some funny moments and share them.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, sounds good. So let's talk about what it is that we want to talk about. I think that Bank of Canada, the fact that they were able to make this step, it's perfect because buyers want to get in. We have buyers wanting to get into the marketplace, and we're going to talk to those guys how to get into the marketplace. I know there's a lot of manifesting going on on all kinds of social media and things like that. But so the very first step is, what is it, Eva? Let's talk about that.
It's to get in touch with us because all of these things, you know, it could work for one person right away. Mm-hmm. But some other people might need to, I guess, perfect their profile for the lenders or, you know, get real about what they could afford. So it's best to get in touch with us first and we could kind of be there with you every step of the way.
Yeah. So the thing is, when it comes to first-time home buyers, or even if it's your second time purchasing, I can't tell you how many times we have repeat buyers or now investors getting into the marketplace. Just like you, we have been doing this at at least the period that you started with us. So let's say you purchased with us 5 years ago. We've been doing it at least for 5 years, okay? Except we've been doing it in a lot more volume. So the people that maybe we got you in contacts with, maybe what we advised you on at that time wasn't necessarily what we can advise you on today. So what I'm trying to say is that, a lot of people say, the very first step is find out what your finances are like. I would say that the first step is really, really to get in touch with us, because we can actually get you in touch with the right people. Sometimes that right person can be the mortgage broker, and sometimes it's the bank. Depending on where you are in your situation, we can get you the best solution. Because a lot of the times we see when we talk to buyers are not really like they're talking to friends and family, their knowledge of what this process needs to look like is very limited, right?
100%. How many times have I spoke to somebody and they say, oh, my brother, my cousin, my mom, they purchased this property, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Right. And they have kind of warped expectations that, like, let's say you even talk to somebody that purchased 5 years ago or pre-COVID, they think they're getting a detached for $300.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yes. And, I remember those days. But those days don't exist anymore, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. Things have changed. So, so once we meet with you, what's the second step? Which we kind of went into it already, but...
Yeah, the second step is financing. Where is the money?
Yeah, let's get you the money. Now, of course, if you won the lottery, you're more than welcome to call us. We can still find you amazing deals. That's what we do. That's our specialty. But when it comes to financing, so we'll get you in touch with a mortgage broker. In fact, we have a mortgage broker in our team, in our brokerage, that works very closely with our clients. And I haven't had any bad negative feedback so far, knock on wood. We don't know, we might get that. But so far, what I love about our mortgage brokers generally is that they work the same hours as we do. They are not like the bank 9 to 5. Right? Yeah,
which will actually start mattering at some later steps when you start putting in offers, because a problem that we've had with the bank is it's, not 10 p.m. maybe, but maybe 8 p.m. on a Sunday night, and we're wondering if we could afford, $5,000, $10,000 more, which starts mattering in some bidding situations, which happens.
Yeah, a lot of the times deals happen after hours, like after, you have... banks work 9 to 5. Maybe some banks work till 8, but mortgage agents, they don't. Mm-hmm. And so usually the deals happen after hours. So that's the most important thing. You got to make sure that you work with someone who is going to be available. And every deal is very different. I love that when we contact our mortgage broker, one of the first things they say is that, okay, how much is it? Let me pull up their file right away and give us the answer right there to allow us to, if we're going into a bidding, we have enough ammunition to go to war for our clients, right?
Yeah, 100%. And they're going to be there with you to discuss what your monthly budget's going to look like. So of course, if you're going from renting to home ownership, you have a couple more things to keep in mind. One is the mortgage, right? Mm-hmm. But you're also going to be thinking about your insurance. Depending on what you're buying, you might have condo fees, property taxes, and it's really property specific, everything that you're going to run into. But a really good mortgage broker is going to make sure that you understand how much it's going to cost out of pocket and how much maybe you should be putting aside for, things going on around the house. Because now if the stove doesn't work, okay, well, you have to be the one to deal with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Pro tip, go with a trusted mortgage agent. Go with someone like Marc-Andre that knows what they're doing. They know how to get you the best rates and options. In every profession, I think that there are people out there that are there to really help you solve your problem. And at the same time, they get to benefit from working with you. And those are the type of people that we like to work when it comes to our vendors. We're looking for people, like if you're a vendor and you're watching us, we'd love to get in touch with you if you are a type of person who is really there to help the client, not try to make a buck, not trying to make a transaction, but actually trying to get something done for the client. And when you do that, guess what? Your reputation will just keep building, and you'll just end up having people come to you without you having to, look for them. So anyways, moving on to step number 3, which is choosing the right neighborhood. Some of the things to consider are like what you'd say?
Well, I would say take into consideration your needs, right? So if you have a family, pick a family-oriented neighborhood. For me, that would be, making sure that it's safe, making sure that there's transportation. Your kids will get a little older, maybe not be able to drive and still want to take the bus.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're close to anything that you need, like on the weekly, daily basis, like going to the market, whatever it is. And do your research. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. All of the things you said, and it's funny when you said about the bus, because I remember my first year university, I had a brand new car, thanks Dad, but I end up wanting to take the bus because the bus would take me directly to the center of the university. And, when I drove, I had to first pay for parking, and it was like a long walk. So yeah, having close access to the buses is very important. But I think look at your livelihood. Where is your work? Because you're going to spend a lot of time driving back and forth from work to home. I think being very close to where your work is amazing. We've moved offices a couple of times, and I am now 5 exits closer to my home, and it's great. So work is very important, where the schools are, what is it that you like to do, what your hobbies are. Do you like to go shopping? If you like to go shopping, then you want to choose, places that are close to that. If you have pets, you want to make sure that you're close to maybe some parks that's, pet friendly. If you like to work out a lot, or you like to bike, you want to be close to bike paths. And I love Ottawa for that, because there's a lot of bike paths that connect, neighborhoods to downtown. It's crazy. I've never seen a city like this.
Yeah, and you can get creative about when you're thinking, what am I really into? Even if it's a gym, maybe you want to move and be close to your gym. When you have all the options, when you're a buyer, you really do. You have so many options. And I think that what a lot of people think is that if I keep it open, it'll be easier. But I don't find that. I think if you keep it open, it actually makes it harder because you don't really know what you're looking for.
Yeah. I think that the very first thing is to do your research, know where you're wanting to go. What I hate is, people just choosing neighborhoods without actually doing their research. Now, that's where we're here for. I love people coming to us and say, hey, you know what? This is my lifestyle. What would you suggest? I've had people that are moving from Toronto, for instance, to Ottawa, and they say, what's a place like Richmond Hill of Toronto? And then I would share with them the different areas. So know what it is that you're looking for, but definitely you can go online, do your research there, find out, do your neighborhood visits. The beautiful thing is now with social media, you can literally find out everything about the neighborhood before even moving into the neighborhood. And talking to the neighbors, are they the kind of people that you want to, be with and hang out with and do the dance?
Yeah, I think talking to the neighbors is a pro tip, because sometimes when I'm at a showing, I see the neighbors, outside on their lawn or whatever. And I think most people, what they do is they keep their head down, don't, just get in your car, just go. But if you really want to know what's up, say hello. Yeah,
there are some neighborhoods, I'll tell you, in my beginning years when I was in real estate and I was door knocking, there were some neighborhoods that people wouldn't move because of, they were so happy with the neighborhood. I've had people be like, yeah, you know what, like during winter time, and we are in winter, so this is like for everybody in Ottawa. If your neighbor's not around, it would be nice for you to take the shovel, especially if you have a snowblower, and blow their snow away. Like seriously. But like listen, like there are people that that have said to me, like, you know, we would be going on vacation and we'd come back and our driveway is like pristine, you know, or like our grass is well taken care of, and they would just want to stay in the neighborhood for their neighbors. So it's kind of, yeah, you know, that's what it's for. Be a good neighbor. My neighbors. My neighbors.
One thing that that I've seen too is that not only will the neighbor come over and do your own driveway, but like on their way over, they'll do a path like for the postman.
Wow, that's like going above and beyond.
That is above and beyond.
Yeah.
But I think when you're selecting a neighborhood, like keep it fun, keep it exciting. I know we always talk about family, but there's so many people too that want that walkable lifestyle. Just tell us what you're into and we have suggestions for you. And you may be somebody that, okay, I don't really care about the location. I'm not outside my house much. We could also tell you where to get the most amount of home for your money, if that's what's most important to you.
Yeah.
I know some people are probably sitting in their house like, are you kidding? I don't go out anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's true.
So, I said step number 3, but that was step number 4, choosing the right neighborhood. Sorry about that. Step number 5 is really to start your home search, right?
Yes.
Starting your home search. What are, like, I like people that know exactly what it is they're looking for, but if you don't, that's okay. We suggest like coming up with a list of must-haves, right? Things that you really, really need to operate on a day-to-day, you know, like just to be in your home. You know, your home is where you're going to come in after a long day work, after vacation, after whatever. This is your sanctuary. Like, what is it that you're looking for? Right?
Exactly. And I think all of us, whether you're a homeowner or not, you're living somewhere, hopefully, walk around your home and say, what do I wish I had? Like, if you're in an apartment, maybe you're like, I really need a bathtub, or I really want a walk-in closet. What do you, like, there are always downfalls to, like, wherever you're living. So decide if those are things that you would, like to have, or do you have to have it?
Yeah. I always say to buyers that, you know, whenever you are looking at a home, right? Sometimes when they have like a couple of homes to decide between, and they're like, I don't know if I want to go here or here. So the two options are sometimes a home that's like so nicely done up, and then you have a home that is kind of like, you know, somewhat done up, but like it doesn't have all the, you know, the glitz and everything. But it has the space they're looking for. And something I say to people all the time, to buyers, is that you want to look for things that money cannot buy you. What do I mean by that? So, for instance, if you're looking for a big backyard, you cannot add a big backyard. If you're looking for privacy in your backyard, you cannot buy that. You can't say, hey, you know what? Neighbors, you guys go away. I want to have a big backyard, right? But what you can get is like, you can change your kitchen to have those nice stone counters. You can get nicer appliances. And, you know, like, I find people a lot of the times when they're like spending money on their home, sometimes they spend money on things that really like make no sense to me. You know, spend money on the right things. And that's another thing. Like, get in touch with us. We'll help you. We'll tell you what it is that you need to do. This is for sellers, you know, before you are thinking of doing something, you know, because the whole idea is, oh, you know what, I'm going to do something to increase the valuation of my home. Like, we're here to help you, especially our past clients. They already know this, but I'm just going to share that with them again. Like, you can just get in touch with us, and we're like more than happy to tell you what it is that you need to do to get going. Okay?
Yeah. One point I wanted to add on to this is that it's one thing to think about what you want, But as a first-time home buyer, this is the foundation to building your wealth through real estate. So one thing that you need to remember
Love that.
is that if you can't sell this, you can't get your money back out of it. So make sure that you're buying something that not only works for you, but you have a wide range of people that would want to buy it from you whenever you're done with it. And also, just on this topic too, think about ahead of time, how long do you want to be in this home? I know we all hate to move. You're like, ideally, I would never move again. But realistically, like, you're probably going to move maybe from your first home in the next 5 years. If it's shorter than that, I would tell your not your real estate professional, your mortgage professional, because they might offer you different products and, you know, outline different terms that might be important to you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really, really good. It's true because, you know, mortgage brokers can get you another kind of product out there that best fits your needs. And it's so true, eh? A lot of the times we talk to people and they're like, oh, this is like my forever home. And then we're like, yeah, actually, this is not, probably not, you know? We've seen a lot of people where they say, this is my forever home. And then we get a call, like, shorter time than we think, you know? Like sometimes in like 2 years, hey, yeah, you know, my situation's changed and we're moving now. So, yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I want to point out is that it's best for you as a buyer if you could stay a little bit flexible. But of course, there's too flexible as well. I've seen people, this is just like the biggest thing I've seen, is that they really start off, they want a 3-bedroom. But, you know, something special comes and it's probably newer than what they thought they could get. So they're like, okay, I'll go with the 2-bedroom. I always receive a call, maybe like 2 years later, 1 year later, like too soon.
Oh my gosh.
They just realize that they can't live with it. So that's all about knowing, like, what should you be flexible on? Like, think about your life and what really can you not?
Yeah. Yeah. Flexibility is really, really important. You know, we always talk about things that you can, the 3 pieces of the pie, right?
Yeah.
Like location, how much money, like your finances, as well as the style. You know, don't be so like dead focused on a certain style or a certain location, because there may be stuff in other areas that fit your needs. So I think that's really, really important. I think also one of the things that I think we wanted to talk about and we talk about all the time with our buyers is that purchasing is really, really not an event. It is a process. So many times, you know, people meet with us the very first meeting and they tell us, well, I want this, this, this. And then what they end up purchasing is actually very different than what they had said initially. And by the way, we document all of this. So like, you know, we know that things do change. And it's totally normal. You're not alone. This happens all the time where people are like, yeah, I don't want, even sometimes they say, I don't want that specific builder. And they actually end up with that builder, right? Yeah. So it's important to have an open mind, you know, and when you're looking at a home, and be open to suggestions, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And also don't underestimate yourself. I find so many people, when you talk about home ownership, they're like, that sounds like an amazing idea, but not for me, right? But so many times we make it happen, and it doesn't matter what your job is right now, what your income, what your credit is right now. If you want it, it's not about if it's going to happen, it's about when, right? Yeah. And even if you can qualify for an amount that you're, you know, not excited about, it would be amazing. Like, if you're not so dedicated to a location, there's always this term that people say, drive until you qualify. Essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say also to those first-time home buyers, you know, a lot of the times they look at their budget. And I'm talking about first-time, like true first-time home buyers. Sometimes, you know, we've got the odd ones out there with like purchasing like a crazy home, right? Yeah. But, you know, first-time home buyers, you know, they have this like small budget and they're like, oh no, but I want like this big house, you know, it's got to have this, you know, all these different things. Like it's got to have a pool, it's got to have a finished basement, it's got to have this, it's got to be detached. But, you know, it's like you just have to, the game of real estate is really about just getting in, you know, whatever it is. And first time home buyers, I'm not just talking about the young folks out there. I'm talking about everybody, including like new immigrants. You know, you guys are new here. Just get into real estate. I'll tell you, when my family and I came to Canada, unfortunately, we didn't know like how it works. We didn't know of any real estate agents. There was no social media for us to do any research anyways. So we end up talking to friends and family, and, you know, like friends, some of them, they didn't give us the right advice, you know, whether it be intentional or not, that's a whole different story. But, you know, they're like, yeah, you don't need to purchase a home. But really, that is the biggest mistake. I think the sooner you can get into real estate, the better it is. And it's funny, it brings me another memory. I remember, you know, in Toronto, I was like maybe in high school, and, you know, we go like clubbing, right? You just start clubbing. And then after clubbing, everybody would go to this Burger King. And in that Burger King, I overheard this guy was talking about, you know what? My dad, he found the best place to like find money. Do you know where money's at? And I was just like, oh my gosh, what is this? What is he going to share right this moment? Yeah. I was like, I really, like my ears just went like, whoop. And he's like, yeah, money's in real estate. And I never wanted to be a realtor, by the way. Like it just happened that I am. But yeah, so when I heard that, I was like, oh, okay. And, you know, I went home, told my family, you know what? Real estate, you know, we need to get into real estate. This is what I heard, and na. And anyway, so really though, real estate is where it's at. That's where you will build your wealth, and there's no secret, for sure.
Yeah. The only investment you could live in.
Absolutely.
I kind of think that's what makes it hard.
I think this. Woo! Yeah. Nice.
Okay, so we talked so much about like expectations and like budget and like what can you get, what can you not get kind of thing. But I think starting your home search, a big part of it is like where to look, like where are homes, and that actually changes. So what may have been the source to go to 10 years ago is probably not the source any longer. And that's what we really have our expertise in, is because we're like keeping our hand on the pulse of the market, essentially. We can find you more homes than you can find on your own. And if you're waiting for things to pop up on the MLS, I think you'll be waiting a while. Right?
Yes,
what do you think?
Yes. Oh my gosh, don't get me started with the MLS. Right now, as we speak, our board decided to change our system, back-end system. So there's a bit of like lots of glitches. I think a lot of the things they didn't see it coming, just because the fields of different things are different. Did you know that? Like basically we used to have, one of the examples I say, as you know, is like the year built. We used to put the actual physical date in, like the year. And now in the new system, it just kind of puts it into categories. It's 0 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, 10 to 15 years, and so on and so forth. So it just, it's been fun. But yeah, absolutely. So definitely we still have other ways in which we can find you homes. And we can actually go after homes that are not in the market. And we have a big database ourselves. We have a huge database. We have over 15,000 people in our database, some of which we've been talking to for many, many years, and they're looking to sell their home if there is somebody who is ready to move. So we can make those connections easily for you. Okay, so let's talk about our next segment, step number 6, which is make an offer and close the deal. So the offer process, right? Like, so let's say They finally saw the home. And you know what? One of the things is, this is your home. Like within 5 seconds of you entering the house, this is a home. And guess what? Your agent also knows this is a home. Because we know that a lot of the times there's like certain things that we see people do when they found the one. It's really, really like dating. Like if you are a perfect match, you just see it. You've seen it so many times, you see it. But talk about that. Actually, before we talk about that, why don't you share like your first transaction when that happened? Because it's always a chaos, like for me, or the first almost transaction. Do you remember? I remember mine.
Yeah, I remember like my first time helping a buyer. It's really interesting because I knew her. I thought I would know more of my buyers, but it seems like that was one of the few people I actually knew in my personal life. And it was the first home we saw together, which also almost never happens. So we were ready to go.
You're lucky.
Well, the thing is, too, is that it wasn't my perfect home.
Okay.
So sometimes that happens where they really like it, and you're like, really?
Oh, my gosh.
And you're just kind of like, can you live with that? Whatever aspect of the home it is. And it's their home when they're really advocating. They're like, I don't care. Like, this is great. And I'm like, okay, well, it's your home, Okay. And they just, like, light up in their face within, just a couple seconds. She was so eager. They start talking about, I need to call my mom. I need to call my dad. Can I FaceTime somebody real quick? And I think, well, in that market, it was like, no problem. Fall in love with it. But in this market now, it's like, okay, hold on to your hats here. Don't get too excited because I don't want you to experience any heartbreak in this.
Yeah, we say, like, don't fall in love. We don't want to deal with the heartbreaks. Like, fall in love after I tell you that you got the house.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember my first one. I was working with this lady for a long time. She saw a few homes, like a few, I mean more than 10. And finally, she saw a home that she loved. And she said, this is perfect. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was feeling goosebumps. Because this is like months and months and months after I got my real estate license. And so anyway, so she ended up, she's like, yeah, let's make an offer, Anna. And she told me that she happened to know the owner, like who the owner of that house was. And unbeknown to me, she had made a contact with this person and told them everything. And the owner said, well, I would let it go for this price. And she said, well, okay, I think I can afford it. And na. And she told me, she's like, oh, you can't believe it. This guy actually goes to the same church as me. And she's like, we had a conversation. It was great. And I said, oh my gosh, why did you do that? Like, now you made my work really hard. But I was able to still, get her a good deal. I negotiated and got a really, really good deal for her. So, and she was shocked. She's like, I don't know how you did that. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. And I swear, this is like true story. And I was so excited. At that point, I had my kids. Obviously, my kids were in bed. And I'm like, okay, I'm coming in. I'm bringing in the offer. I'm bringing in the agreement of purchase and sale, because back then there was no DocuSign. And she's like, okay. She was living in a building. And I printed it. And she called me. She's like, Anna, I don't want to do it. I'm like, but we just like agreed on a great price. I got you a great deal. She's like, yeah, I don't want to do it. Please don't come. Please don't come. I was like, oh my God. And like, that was it. I was like so shattered. I felt like so bad. She was a renter, and I think to this day she's still renting. That was a really, really hard first almost transaction.
Yeah.
But I remember like the way I knew that she loved that home was like she was there and she was so like she was in love with it. She spent time. She was like already imagining different things in the house. and how it would change her life and things like that. But she just didn't want to do it. And I was not experienced. I didn't know that buyers do have this buyer's remorse, you know? So I was just like heartbroken, just like her. I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be my first transaction. And she wasn't. So yeah, sucks. People don't talk about these things about real estate, right?
Yeah. And it's hard to operate like for the buyer in their best interest when you're really needing the money. Yeah. So that's one thing that people don't realize. It's like, okay, you might be all right with, you know, dipping your toe and helping your friend out, and they're like not an experienced realtor. But it's like in their own mind, they can't even give you sound advice if they don't know if they're gonna, you know, eat tomorrow, right? Yeah. They're gonna just say, no matter the house, this is the right one. And also when you're talking to buyers too, there's a like an interesting dance that we have to do between, you know, supporting them, making this change, you know, if they have a little bit of cold feet, saying, well, you loved it, you know, 3 hours ago, and what changed? And then the other side of it, which is like supporting them, it's like, if this really isn't the house for you, like wherever we are, I'll get you out of it.
Yeah, that's so important. I had a situation where, and like, you know, obviously it's not what you're supposed to do or whatever, but I remember I was called by one of my colleague at that time and said, oh, you know what, I'm going on vacation, can you take care of my clients? And lo and behold, they went to an open house and they loved the home, and they're like, Anna, we're writing an offer. I was like, oh, okay, let me write an offer. You know, I put the offer together. We submitted it, got accepted. Everything's great. Like, obviously it doesn't get accepted, by the way, right away. Sometimes it does, but, you know, there's some negotiations and talks and things like that. But anyways, got accepted. And then we were going to do our inspection. We go in the inspection, and this is my first time actually seeing these guys. And the husband walks in and he's like, no. Oh, there's something wrong with this. There's something wrong with that. So I pulled him out. I said, hey, listen, let's go talk outside for a little bit. And I'm like, you don't like this home, do you? He's like, I'm like, listen, just like be honest with me. It's okay. He's like, you know what? Honestly, Anna, I didn't see this home. It's my family who saw it, and, you know, they got all excited. They put an offer. We didn't want this home. I said, oh my gosh. Okay, well, no problem. All you had to do was tell me. And like, honestly, that's what I love. I love when buyers or sellers are just like honest with me. This is what I want to happen. Don't sugarcoat it. Let me help you. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And I had a conversation with the other agent. Now, you're not supposed to, you're under an agreement. But the way the offer is built is that it's at your sole, it's at the discretion of the buyers, right? So it could be the most like simplest thing, and they can pull out of the deal from the inspection. And of course, there were things in the inspection that weren't good, but really, really didn't like the house. So anyway, we pulled out of the deal, and that's fine. We found them another home, and they're like happy clients, repeat clients. We've been, if he's watching, hello, you know who you are.
Yeah. And I think that's actually the nicest thing you could have done is being honest, you know, because you could have took the other route and said, you know, it's actually something in the house that we don't like, you know, something in the inspection report.
Exactly.
But you know, it's better for the sellers to hear and know that something isn't really like structurally wrong with their house, that it's just like a preference. So they can go ahead knowing that, you know, they still have a good product. Because I know as buyers, like a lot of times we want to be sharks. Like we want to get whatever's best for us, right? But sometimes there's sellers on the other side. Yeah. That you have to kind of think about.
Absolutely. And, you know, when it comes to inspection, there's, you know, inspection should be a whole new episode on its own, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think just one sentiment that we could put in here, not get too into it, is just that homes don't really, like, fail or pass the home inspection.
I know. That's what people like get confused about. You know, they think like, oh, inspection failed. Like, no, It's not about, I love that. So why don't you talk about that for a little bit? I'm going to fix this headset.
Yeah. So one thing that I tell the buyers that I work with, and you guys here today, is that the home, no matter if it's new, if it's old, doesn't matter. There's always going to be notes on it. Bare minimum notes on like how to take care of this property in the future to come. No matter how great the property is, you know, one day the furnace is going to die, one day your dishwasher is going to leak, so on and so forth. So the inspection has all reports on all different types of things, whether it's safety, structural, or cosmetic. And what you need to do is realize, like, how much work are you willing to put into it? Are you willing to do cosmetic work? Are you willing to do structural work? Does it all depend on price? You do get another opportunity to negotiate after you see the inspection. So when you have an inspection, you have to decide, is this something I want to walk away about? Or is there a dollar amount that could help me with this?
Yeah. And usually, you know, you get really three choices. You can walk away, you can get them to do the work, or you can renegotiate the price.
Yes.
Now, my favorite go-to is to renegotiate the price if they're willing, because you don't know who did the inspection. Who did the work, right? So it could be like my friend here, Bobby, that finished the roof and went with the cheapest product. So I prefer to get a price reduction. This way it's clean and you get to choose whoever you want to work with.
Yeah. Another option that I really like is a cashback option at close, because if you take, let's say, a couple $1,000s off the price, sure, your mortgage is a couple dollars essentially cheaper per month. You can't buy a new air conditioner saving a couple dollars a month, right? So if you get a cash back, let's say whatever, $6,000 cash back, you could actually, you know, bring that to whomever needs to fix this and get it done.
Yeah. Cashback is great. Depending on the lender, though. I know some lenders are like, they don't like that. And they're like, oh, so actually your purchase price was not this amount. It's this minus this. So this is the mortgage. So you got to be careful with that. You can also get, you know, of course, we have to have a mortgage broker here too one time. But like, what about the other type of mortgage, the mortgage plus improvement? That's also another great option there. All right. So making an offer process. What are the pieces of the puzzle when you're coming up with an offer? So like, you know, you like the home, you tell us, hey, you know what? I love this home. This is what I'm thinking. Of course, we can tell you what the price is. What else? Like, what else is in the offer that is important?
Well, you have price. That's not the only tool here. You have deposit, which shows them that you have some money in your bank account right now. This is the only way that they see that you actually have any money at all.
Yeah.
You have your closing date, which will either make the seller happy or not so happy. Which, if it's not a great closing date, that will cost them money too, right? Yeah. Then we have our terms. So our terms being like, do you want to get a home inspection? Do you need financing condition? But also terms like, does this home need to be professionally cleaned?
Yeah.
What other things do you think that people have in their pocket that they can make it work?
Yeah, so I like what you said about like the different conditions. Like I've seen people put in condition of like insurance. Of course, if it's a rural property, we want to check other things like the septic, the water, make sure it's potable, meaning you can drink it. Closing date, I just want to maybe like make that a little bit more simple terms, because we have to be careful. Sometimes we use like real estate words and terms and people are like, what is that? So the closing date is the date that you get the key. Okay. And the date that we actually make an offer is the contractual date. So there's 3 dates that's very important. The date that you make the offer, the date that the conditions are fulfilled, all the conditions. So exactly what Eva said here, which is, you put a condition of inspection, financing. If it's a condominium, you want to check the status certificate, make sure the status certificate is good, the condo is well run, there's no, funny business happening with the condo corporation. We'll talk about that on another segment. And then making sure that, water's good, all these different things. And so the last date that all of these conditions are fulfilled, meaning you're good to go. So maybe inspection, you found there's something wrong with the inspection and you say, you know what, I will take the house. However, this is what needs to happen. Or, the seller might push back too, by the way. Okay. So I just want to make sure that you understand. Sometimes sellers are like, no, not doing it. This is the price. The price reflects the house condition and all the different things. You're on your own. So there's got to be some going back and forth there. And, if the seller, once you come to an agreement, the deal then becomes firm. So meaning to say that your deposit is now locked in, okay, no matter what. And once you actually do close, it goes towards your down payment. If you're like, for instance, you went firm on the deal, but you said you didn't actually talk to a financial advisor or like a mortgage broker, and you don't have the money, but you remove that condition and you cannot close on the date that you're supposed to get the key. Well, guess what? The seller can hold the deposit. And they can even maybe go as far as like suing you for what their property price is from today, as it was like back then. Maybe there was a loss,
Yeah.
So there's different things. And, I always say like, maybe 80%, 90% of the transactions go really well and they go as planned. But, 10%, 20%, whatever that percentage is, when they don't, you want to have somebody who knows what they're doing, who has been in that position before to get you out of there, who has resources to get you out of there.
Yeah, and
Right?
has a pulse on the market too, because I've had this before. After the inspection, we find stuff, right? And then they are not willing to budge. And they tell me, oh, it's because we've had people this whole time be almost knocking down our door. Like there's so much demand for this home. And because I've been in this marketplace and that, area specifically, that price point specifically, I knew that they probably weren't lying.
Yeah.
But my clients were wondering, oh, are you sure? Do you really think that? Because, they could always be bluffing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on, and there's a lot of, you gotta know the lingo, you gotta know the conversation that goes on behind the scenes as well. But like at the end of the day, what's important is like making sure that you fully trust the person that is helping you to get you out of this. Because like I said, 90% of the time, everything is great. But that 10%, and if you catch yourself in that 10% time when things aren't going great, that's a difference between getting yourself out of this, having a home, and or being in a potential lawsuit.
Yeah.
And nobody likes that. Nobody wants to be there. So it's important. It's important to know. I think that know what it is that you are looking for, what's important to you. Make sure that you communicate that with your people, like with your agent. Sometimes we have clients that say, you know what, I don't want to live in a house where somebody has passed before. That has been a case for me, where people are like, yeah, I don't want to, and so it's important that you talk to your agent and say, I don't want to be in a house like that, or I don't want to be whatever, fill in the blank. So make sure you talk about that. I forgot to mention appraisals. When do appraisals happen?
So appraisals do happen. Definitely depends on the marketplace. You also don't want to be purchasing the property in the area at the highest price that it's ever been done before. Then it'll probably be flagged for an appraisal. Or if you're purchasing something off market, you want to make sure that you get a good price, because it's probably going to be flagged for an appraisal.
Yeah.
These appraisals, they usually happen, this is unfortunate, but I don't think people realize this, outside of your financing condition if you're not careful. If you have a really good mortgage broker that has access to appraisers, on the drop of a hat, then that may be able to happen during your conditional period. So if you have an appraisal and it comes up short and there's no way for you to back out of this property, so let's say you paid $575, the appraisal comes back at $550, they will be like, okay, well, you need $25,000 more of down payment in order for this to close. So, when you're in the offer process, which we were just talking about, this is something to think about, because you might be, keeping the main thing, which is, get the house at whatever means.
Yeah.
And not realizing that you went a little bit overboard on what this is actually worth.
And we see that also, that's a good topic to talk about, like financing pitfalls, when you're purchasing a home. We've seen that also happen with new builds. People purchase the property for a certain amount, and they end up going to to the design center. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I see you like holding your breath.
Yeah.
They go to the design center, they overspend. And, of course, the design center is there to like sell you on stuff. Hey, do you want to go level 1 granite or level 10 granite? And of course, level 10 granite, guys, is like so amazing. So, like, it's got all kinds of stuff. And then every builder has it. Of course, they want to try to upsell you. And then next thing you know, you're spending a lot of money there. And also, same thing goes for sellers. Like, my gosh, so many times they're like, oh, but this is like Brazilian whatever, or like this is bamboo flooring. Like, do you know what buyers are looking for? When we go out with buyers, all they care about is no carpet.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's like a kind of a hardwood or not. They care about stone countertop. It really doesn't matter if it's level 1 or level 10. But like, builders have the tendency to like, sell you on these things. Because you go to their model home and they're like hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on like, upgrades. You go in and you want all of those things. But guess what? It's going to cost money. And now you're going to be over what you were actually, good for with your mortgage broker. So don't do that.
Yeah,
Right?
I think it's so funny how attitudes change so quickly. Like, sometimes you talk to somebody in the first meeting, they're like, I'll do anything to be in like any home. Like, I don't care. Like, I can live in a box, I just want to own that box kind of thing. And then they get to the builder or whatever, and it's like, I couldn't possibly live with quartz. You know what I mean? Like, I need marble. I need granite, right?
Yeah.
Or they're like, oh, I absolutely need like updated white, whatever it is. So just make sure you're keeping in mind your budget and you deserve that. You deserve that.
You gotta love real estate to be in it, because there's all these different fun factors that come into effect, and you're like, what? You did what? You bought like furniture? Now your credit score is like so low? Or, oh my gosh, you quit your job before getting your financing all good to go, last minute before closing. So, again, don't change your status until you have the key in your hands. Don't go buying anything. Just make sure you stick to what it is. Okay, so there you guys have it. This is the step-by-step.
Okay, we missed a step.
What is the step?
The last step is the closing.
Oh, okay.
So
yes.
we missed a step.
Closing details.
Last step is closing. You have to get in touch with a lawyer. The lawyer's going to do the title search for you. Make sure that you don't have any kind of liens or encumbrances on the property. Yeah. That all the property taxes are paid. That you're not, buying a home that has a bunch of rented stuff that you don't know. Yeah. They're going to make sure that you know the details of whatever rental equipment. And then you get the keys. Happy.
Yay!
Okay, that's
it. Okay, so there we have it, you guys. So this is our first, well, it's not our first. We've been doing this for a while, but with the nice setup. So maybe more presentable. But yeah, this is basically your step-by-step guide. I can't believe I forgot the last step. Step-by-step guide to buying a home in Ottawa, from, making sure how to get the proper financing, to choosing the right home, neighborhood, and how the whole process works. I hope that this was helpful, and we are here to help you own your dream home. Final thoughts?
I mean, thank you so much.
So next week, we're going to dive into the hot spots of the Ottawa real estate market. And that is where you should be buying, selling, investing. So make sure that you catch us again next week, same time, same channels. And if you found this information helpful, be sure to share it with your friends and family. It doesn't have to be just in Ottawa. We also have an office in Toronto. So if you're looking outside of Ottawa, we're here to help you. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts were. Did you guys enjoy this? If you did enjoy it, make sure you subscribe to our channels. Leave us a review. Share it with anyone who's looking to buy and sell. Again, even if they're not in Ottawa, I think it's going to be super helpful for them to know what it is that they need to expect when they're purchasing a home.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much, and see you next week.